What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be going over none other than basically all the new decks you're going to find in BT-11. So guys, hopefully you're hyped for this video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tell me what deck are you guys wanting to play out of this BT-11 format? What new decks are you excited to build? What decks are you going to take to locals and try to storm them in for? So without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about it. So first off, the deck we're going to talk about, as we do in color order, we're going to talk about all them in their realistic views. So first off, it's Marsmon and Phoenixmon. Marsmon is all about the raid mechanic, which was introduced as a new keyword. This keyword allows you to switch the attack of this Digimon to one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with the highest DP, which means that if you can climb over them, it's a way of piercing or even adding more checks, stuff that really applies a lot of pressure. So being able to swing into your opponent's unsuspended Digimon is tenfold extremely good in this format alone. As long as you can hit magic numbers and get higher than your opponent's Digimon, you're in a good spot. So Marsmon's also has another effect. So when the attack target of this Digimon switches, unsuspend this Digimon and gain 1 memory for each red tamer you have in play. So since we're using Phoenixmon as the backup, because Phoenixmon has, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you may activate one of its on-deletion effects. Some of these allow you to play other Digimon with it, but most of these have play a tamer for free. So what we're going to use is Phoenixmon's backbone effects until we're ready for Marsmon in itself. So what we're going to play is like Akihiko, being able to, when you play a red Digimon with bird, avian, beast, or sovereign, or animal in one of its traits except sea animal, by an effect, by suspending this tamer, that Digimon gains rush for the turn. But it also has a reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 red Digimon card with vaccine is traded among them to your hand, place the rating cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. So the idea behind this is the deck is basically bird, avian, all this fun good stuff with everything fitting in. I think Agunimon doesn't fall in the category. Then you have Monochromon that isn't really falling in the category, but that's fine. We also have, Justimon that's just really here to cancel out, Bloom Lord if they're just trying to go ahead. You have Solarmon so that if your opponent is playing like Crossheart, you can negate that. So all in all, you're using these to combo in very nicely. And then you have Grapleomon with Raid, but it also has an effect once per turn when an attack target of this Digimon switches, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So with that, with the ability of being able to trash the opponent's top security stack for free, that means we get around a little bit of any annoyancy of Setcon's magic stuff they like to do. But all in all, I think that's not bad. This deck has some potential in it, but the problem comes down to is that there are a little more beefier Digimon in this set, and the deck wants to do stuff, but with a deck that can pop tamers and other nasty shenanigans, I feel like the deck will struggle a little bit in the format, but it has some fun potentials, and you could take it to locals to have fun. And I think that's about it. So next deck we're going to talk about is none other than the King of the Ring itself. So we do have Blackwargreymon X Antibody as one of the new decks. So this got a wave of support that made this deck quite powerful. The only thing that it loses to is bricking to itself. Once a Blackwargreymon X is established on board, you are dealing with a control potential. One of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP attacks, you may switch the target to it. So if it has bigger DP than most, it doesn't care. But then also a turn, when a Digimon becomes unsuspended, if this Digimon has Blackwargreymon or X Antibodies Digi-Evolutions, you may delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. So constantly being able to remove threats off the board just because of a reboot happening, because it counts itself, which is really nasty, but it's also a new May skill. So you don't have to do it right away. You can choose when to activate it, which is very important because your opponent can't bait it out, and that's the problem. And that's a big problem. If you can't bait it out, that's going to lead you to lose in that regard. Then you have stuff like Greymon X Antibody. When this Digimon would digivolve into a Greymon in its name, reduce the Digi-Evolution cost by 1 for each of its color. and then it has a small protection skill. But what's really nasty about it is it makes both Metalgreymon X antibody here and Metalgreymon a reduced cost to, guess what? A whopping 2 cost, which gets really nasty in some circumstances. And being able to have protection from Digievolution and DP reduction, this makes it so the deck is so resilient to almost every form of removal. It's not even funny. Then you have like Hades Force here, which is a 5 cost removal in some instances. Choose any number of your opponent's Digimon and Tamers whose total play cost adds up to play cost of one of your Digimon with Greymon in its name in his play or less, then delete them, and then one of your Greymons in its name may attack your opponent. A little FYI about Hades Force. If you have a Greymon rested, it cannot swing again. Doesn't matter. The reason for this is because it's not a legal valid target to be able to swing. It's not like a Rusttyrannomon's effect that says it can attack when suspended. That's why it can attack twice, which is really nasty. But Hades Force doesn't do that, thankfully. And then we do have Yuya. So this guy here is your memory setter, but he protects your Digimon. If it digivolved into the same level Digimon, that Digimon isn't affected by effects of your opponent's option cards until the end of your opponent's next turn. So shutting down your opponent's game plan like that is ridiculous. Now, options don't really remove it, so even if you have to rely on your Digimon's effects to try to remove it, but it's got protection from basically everything besides swing into the thing. So that's the big problem with this deck, it's just a powerhouse, and it's going to stay around for a while. Well, it evolves into a Greymon tribal deck next set. Next deck we're going to talk about, we're getting into blue, is Blue Flare. Blue Flare got a little bit of new toys, actually. First off, being Dracmon here, because now you have another Digitama. That's going to help you out because it's Blue Flare classified. When you play another Digimon with Dracmon in its name or Blue Flare, draw a card. This helps synergize in a way that you were forced to play Jellymon. Now you don't have to play Jellymon, you play Dracmon. Now, when your Blue Flare comes in, because this is what you're going to be hard playing anyway, instantly draw a card. This now keeps you in the game because you were falling behind when you couldn't get some card advantage. So now we have some draw. And then when you play another Digimon with Drawmon in its name or Blue Flare in its traits, gain 1 memory. Really solid there. I think gaining the memory is really powerful. It extends your plays and keeps you in check. And then we do have Greymon himself. When Digivolve, unsuspend this Digimon if a card with Blue Flare or Crossheart in its traits in its Digievolution cards, and your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, gain 2 memory. So what's really nice is that you can use it to go on top of a Metalgreymon X antibody. So what you do here is Metalgreymon, swing in, restand with a Greymon. As long as they have 2 Digimon on board, you could use Metalgreymon Cyber Launcher because he counts as Metalgreymon on top of it. So you can get another Greymon underneath, get another swing in, or even just have Security Checker Greymon in there and just get the Greymon afterwards to restand. And then finally you'll go into Metalgreymon X antibody, gain the extra security and DP boost on top of either 2 of these Metalgreymons because it's not color restricted. And then finally end on Greymon, which will cost you 1 to evolve on, but that's not terrible at the end of the day. This card really sets you up in ways that this card deck needed. It also gives you a blocker on your opponent's turn, so that really, especially with armor purgy blockers, you're really solid there. I mean, it gives you survivability where you weren't really surviving that much, but now you have pressure on top of it. I think this deck has potential in the format. We'll have to see, but it also got this new card, Taiki, Kiriha, and Nene, being started main phase by placing 1 Digimon with Crossheart or Blue Flare in his traits under this tamer, gain 1 memory, draw a card. And then when you would play 1 Digimon with Digi-Cross requirements by suspending this tamer, you may place cards from under your tamer as Digi-Evolutions for Digi-Cross. So, this now combos nicely with your Kirihas, and now you have another way of gaining memory and draw and just getting stuff underneath, which really can lead to being some victories in itself. And I think this is not going to be a deck you should sleep on, so keep this on your radar. Next deck we're going to talk about is Allforceveedramon. This deck has a lot of potential, to be honest with you. When Digivolving, you may play 1 blue tamer card from your hand without paying its memory cost. which you can combo in with Rena. Rena will then let you reuse that when Digivolving effect if you play her, because all turns one of your Digimon with Veedramon in its name becomes suspended. By suspending this tamer, activate one of its when Digivolving effects. So you snowball and play a bunch of Renas or tamers you need in the long game, because when you play a blue tamer, unsuspend this Digimon. So Rena's going to be allowing you to keep playing the tamers, but he'll be unsuspending every time you suspend Arena to do so. But your turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended, return one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. Increase the maximum level of the chosen by 1 for each tamer you have in play. The thing about this deck is it doesn't have any protection-based anything with this deck. So if Allforceveedramon goes out the window, by an effect, by just your restanding, in the case of Blackwargreymon X, you're punished for it. And then what you combo really nicely with this deck is Jerry. Jerry plus Leomon gives you at least a blocker, but on deletion, gain 2 memory, draw a card. So what's nice is Allforceveedramon swings, play Jerry, play Leomon, then, or, when Digivolving, do that, or activate, Rena's skill, instantly now triggering play Leomon down, forcing the, if Blackwargreymon's on board, you force it to pop the Leomon to draw you a card and gain you 2 memory. And Allforceveedramon stays on the board to proceed to OTK. That's kind of what that purpose is in here for that Blackwargreymon matchup, but outside of that, nothing too scary. But remember, they can also redirect the attack. So you need to make sure you're up higher than it as well. So we use the old-fashioned tie V-Tamer, so one of your Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for the turn. And outside of that, we're just really going hard for power because we need to get there. I mean, because Allforceveedramon is a Drummon, and its name becomes unsuspended, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. That power boost is going to come in handy. This one will gain you search ability, plus, if you play a blue tamer, gain 1 memory. Gabumon's here just to search for tamers, to grab them out. Beamon becomes unsuspended, gain a memory. You have Veedramon, just when you play a blue tamer, gain a memory, but when you play a blue tamer, draw a card. Gumamon, because hybrid game shenanigans, really is useful, but also can help you climb into Allforce. Veedramon here is by spending this Digimon, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add all blue tamers among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order, and then when attacking, activate one of your Arena's on-play effects. So this will combo in with Rena skill because it'll give blocker and invade protection when you need it. Then you have Veedramon jamming while you have 8 or more cards in your hand. This Digimon gains security +1. This can help apply pressure that way. Death X is just in here for the Crossheart matchup, Blue Flare matchup, anything that's trying to go wide board and you just blow it up. Bloom Lord's a thing. And then you have Blue Memory Boosts to help search for your pieces. And then Davis to Davis. So all in all, Blue Allforceveedramon is probably one of the contenders for Blue's top decks of the format, but we know we have Miragegaogamon X as a deck. Next, let's talk about it. Miragegaogamon, aka Leo Gauga. So, what is this deck entirely? You guys are probably looking at me, what in the name of God are you doing? So, we're using Leomon's ability to use Leomon X antibody all turns. When this Digimon would be deleted in battle, you may play a Leomon from its CG evolution cards without paying its memory cost, constantly adding bodies in. Because if he's going to be dead anyway, why not get a free body in exchange? You have Pangeamon. So this card is treated as Leomon as well. And then when Digivolving, you may play a blue or green Tamer card with a play cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. So this sets you up with Jerry's or Davis and Ken's or Kiyoshiro's. Stuff like that's going to help you out in the long game. And then, when you would play another Digimon by an effect, one of your Digimon gains Rush for the turn. So that's going to help you out as well because Pangeamon's X antibodies effect, when this Digimon would be deleted in battle, you may play 1 Leomon from its CG evolutions cost cards without paying its memory cost. Not bad, and it's also treated as a Leomon. So that's going to combo in nicely. And then Miragegaoga, by returning one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. If no Digimon is returned by this effect, your opponent adds the top card of their security stack to hand. But also, when an effect adds a card to your opponent's hand, gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in their hand. It's a once per turn skill, but it extends your plays. You have Mega Death, just to spin back any threats on board. Blue card is really interesting because this can cheat you into one of your Digimon very easily. You may Digivolve one of your Digimon into a one non-white Digimon among them without paying its memory cost. So this can cheat you into your pieces very nicely. You know, Koshiro's just here for draw advantage. Jerry's draw, but also gets you a Leomon body for free. You have, like, Davis and Ken just to extend your plays. And Jerry gets free value out of that. Then you have, like, Cool Boy here, just because if you go X antibody in anything, that extends your plays and draws you cards. Analog Youth to search pieces. Jellymon is as long as you have Koshiro in play, you gain a draw out of her. So, and it's not a restrictive hand size one. Then you have Jellymon. When you would play a blue tamer, draw a card, and then when an effect adds a card to your hand, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to its owner's hand. So it's not bad. This deck has potential, and I think it will throw players off, especially with a confident pilot behind it. This deck can do a lot of stuff, especially keeping in turn, and I think Miragegaoga is a very complemented boss Digimon for this deck. So something to just keep on your radar. And then let's get into it. King Sukamon. So this deck is all about turning your opponent's Digimon into a Sukamon white 3000 DP until the end of the opponent's turn. But it also has a very nice inheritable when this Digimon would be deleted any possible way. You, by deleting another Digimon with Sukamon in its name from the field, prevent that deletion. So in all honesty, being able to delete one of the other Digimon really helps extend your plays and get you some nice value. Especially keeps your Metal Edamon, and it's not restricted by the name here. So after you turn them into poop, basically your big boss Digimon can swing in and nothing's going to kill it because you're going to kill their boss Digimon in exchange. Here's a little bit of tidbit here. The poop keeps their traits, their effects, everything like that. It only changes color, name of the Digimon, and that's about it. That's all it does, and DP. So it's something to think about when you're building around this. It's not going to shut down everything they're going to do, but it'll make it a lot easier for you to go into town. But all in all, the deck has potential, but I feel like it's in a bad format where OTK is just such a king-heavy deck. If OTK wasn't so heavy, this deck is a mid-range deck. It controls in a way very differently than a lot of players are expecting, and I feel like it has potential to grow. But until then, we have to wait until the OTK decks kind of just slowly phase out of the meta. Then let's talk about green decks. Digimon. So Digimon is a really nasty card in itself. When Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play one Tamer card among them without paying its memory cost. Place the remaining cards at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. But also, when attacking, for each green or black Tamer you have in play, reveal the top card of your deck. You may play any number of green or black Digimon among them with total play cost 10 or less without paying its memory cost. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. So, allowing you to basically get a free body out. Your normal targets are going to be like Metal Tyrannomon, but you can also go a very wide board status. What we're doing here with Zenjiro here is really interesting. Let me explain. So one Ballistamon under one of your Tamers equals out anytime a Zenjiro comes out is a free Ballistamon out. But also, you know, that blocker just coming back constantly with Zenjiro is really nasty for some plays. And it's just a way of, if you're at 3 memory, play a Zenjiro, gets you a small body, and then you can swing into town, especially if you know you're going to restand in a few ways. Now your opponent has to play accordingly because they can't just pop anything because they're just going to pop the Ballistamon, which is a waste of turn. But what's really nice is the Zenjiro basically plays the Ballistamon or 2. I mean, hey, that's not a bad trade-off. Then you have like Taiga here that when you would Digivolve into a level 5 or higher Digimon card, by suspending this Tamer, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1, and all your Digimon get plus 1000 DP. The later the game goes, the nastier this deck gets, and more scarier because your boss Digimon is Rusttyrannomon. When one of your Digimon would Digivolve into this card, for each green or black Tamer you have in play, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. And then all turns when this Digimon is deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, unsuspend it. Free value, in my opinion, is always good. You have like Ken, who's going to gain you a memory if deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives. You have TK and Izzy that can also, when one of your Digimon Digivolves into a yellow or green, you may suspend this Tamer to have one of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for the turn. really helpful, insightful deck. This has so much potential, and I think maybe one more round of support, and this deck will take off. I think it's just waiting on Quartzmon, and Quartzmon really helps the deck out in a way, because Quartzmon helps control where the deck just needs a little bit of oomph in the control department. But all in all, it's just a basic green deck that you're ready for, and if you want to play Tyrannos, this is the best bet. Then, let's talk about Herculeskabuterimon X antibody. This deck, I'm going to be honest with you, isn't fully functional yet. I think, yes, Herculeskabuterimon is nasty. The security +1 is nasty. When Digivolving, if you have Hercules or X antibodies Digievolutions, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. What really helps out here is it is a 1-cost evolve on top of it, but your goal is to use like Lilamon here to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then instantly go into this here, which is not bad. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, or suspend 2 of your opponents is another option if you don't have Lila. And then, you know, Hercules X Antibody will try to spin in at the bottom, which is a control option. But also, if they have protection, that can take care of that, and then you just go into merciful mode just to try to remove it twice. I mean, there are a lot of potentials, and there are some interesting, because as long as your opponent gets suspended, there are effects that we're going to gain some value out of this. So, I mean, Gargo is going to gain power if we have opponent's Digimon suspended. Sabrar and Goramon is basically going to gain a memory when your opponent's Digimon is suspended. This draws a card when your opponent's Digimon gets suspended. If your opponent has 2 or more suspended, gain a memory. I mean, there's all potentials for this deck. You have like Lamortmon. It's not really doing anything crazy, but it's enough to get multi-attacking early. But it suspends one of your opponent's Digimon, which can help you get rid of threats. And that's very important for this deck. I think it's got synergy behind it, but do I think this is going to blow any big deck out of the water? I don't think so. But I think with some refinement and everything like this deck has potential. So, not a bad thing about that. Now let's get into Machinedramon, Mugandramon. This bad boy got a lot of decent love and support. So on play, when Digivolving, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 analog man among them to your hand, and 1 card with machine or cyborg and its traits among them to your hand, or to the bottom of the CG Evolution card, trash the rest. On deletion, by returning 1 of your analog mans to the bottom of your owner's deck, you may play 1 Machinedramon from your hand without paying its memory cost. What's really nasty is, you get a free value out of this. You get a free Machinedramon who can instantly pass turn if they remove this off the field, which you can with Analog Man, because you'll redirect it into it. So if it dies, instantly play Machinedramon, grab all the sources that you just lost from this Machinedramon, boom, instantly now you have Machinedramon passing it back to your turn, because most likely if you have 5 things going, 5 things go in. So that's going to help you out there. And then you even have Chaosdramon for on play. When Digivolving, you may place up to 3 red or black level 5 cards with cyborg and its traits, and different card numbers from your hand or trash under this Digievolution as a bottom Digievolution card to de-Digivolve 1 of your opponent's Digimon for each card placed with this effect. And then when this Digimon would be deleted or returned to a hand or deck, you may trash up to 2 level 5 cards in this Digievolution cards to prevent it from leaving play. Really nasty, isn't it? What's really nasty is decks like, you know, Miragegaogamon X Antibody. They're going to try to swing in. If you're on a Chaosdramon with like 2 analog mans on board, that means their Digimon is dying. There's nothing they can do against this Chaosdramon's power. There's just so much oomph behind it that your opponent is not ready for. I mean, even just getting Megadramon here underneath one of your Machinedramon, if they start swinging, just kill the cool boys off. What are they going to do? I mean, there's so much potential, and because you're going to be building and raising, you can use Doraemon's effect to gain that memory, and Doraemon to draw a card when you go into this Machinedramon here, and then if you go into Chaosdramon right afterwards, boom! That's just so much value. I mean, we have Volcanomon because it has security +1 for attacks. You got piercing, you got an extra security checks, you know, cards that are going to help you. Even Megadramon to give you blocker. I mean, you have blockers in the small categories here. And then, you know, Gigadramon to give you reboot. So there's so much potential with this deck. It's not even funny. And And then you have Metalgreymon here that'll let you swing into your opponent's unsuspended Digimon, which will help you out in the long game. So there's so much uniqueness with this deck. There's no wrong way of building it, actually, at the end of the day. I think this is one of the decks that have a lot of creative potential behind it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if certain cards you don't like because they're not really helping you in the meta department, pick something else. There's just so much value in it that you will be ready for anything. Then let's get into Justimon. So Excel Arm is the new card that gets introduced in this set. This deck will probably surprise any opponent because of the way it plays out. What's really nasty is, look at this. Justy Kick. Security, you may play one black tamer card from your hand without paying its play cost, then add this card to its owner's hand. What gets really nasty is, when you would use this card, reduce its cost by 1 for each tamer you have in play. So what your goal is to get a couple Mimis out, because for every Mimi, anytime you use an option, it's basically rest it. It reduces the cost. So what's happening here? For each tamer you have in play, so Mimis become now 2 for this option here. So 4 Mimis out means -8. So this becomes a 4-cost option just to play in Justimon. So what's really nasty, you may play one Digimon with Justimon in its name from your hand without paying its memory cost. If you do, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost less than or equal to the Digimon you played. So we can pop 12Ks and 11s. That's not terrible, actually. That's pretty solid. So none of these guys have on plays, but that's fine. That's fine. Being able to remove your opponent's Digimon is huge. So that's going to help us out. And then we have a lot of nasty options that if your opponent's not ready for, like DG Dimensions, de-digivolve 3 of your opponent's Digimon, then delete 3 of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost 6 or less. One DG Evolution, when they hit this, is really nasty. I mean, Iron Fist Onslaught, hit that, you're crying. Kongu, just to slow down the small guys. Quaker Blaster Firefather, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost 13 or less. So if Justimon can't kill it, you just go Quaker Fire, Father thing, and you're just going to apply pressure that way. And then even Metal Impulse, trash up to 3 cards in your hand. For each card trash with this effect, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, then delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. That's nasty. I mean, the deck has so much potential because what you're going to do is just apply so much pressure. I mean, hey, if the deck works for you, it works for you, right? I mean, hey, I think it has potential, and it's going to throw people off because the way it plays is like Setcon for black. This is just straight up, you don't get any recovery, that's fine. But hey, if everything in your security is lethal and devastating, who am I going to judge? So I think this has a lot of potential, and I can't wait to see how people develop it. Then we have Venmon. Venmon, aka Galacticmon, is a very interesting deck. This card is the boss of the deck. So when Digivolving, you may place up to 4 Venmon from your trash at the bottom of the CG Evolution cards. Then if this Digimon has 8 or more Venmon in its CG Evolutions, delete one of your opponent's Digimon all turns. When this Digimon would leave play, you may prevent it from leaving play by returning 4 Venmon from the CG Evolution cards to the bottom of your deck. Start a main phase, trash the top card of your opponent's security phase. So as long as he's staying on the board, he gets free trashing, which really nasty. And what you want to do is get the Venmons in trash because you're going to value them. So we use cards like Pride Memory Boost, and then it's Fusionize by placing 1 Venmon or Destrudo from your trash at the bottom of one of your Digi-Evolution cards. One of your Digimon may Digivolve into Destrudo or Galacticmon in your trash by paying its memory cost. So since Venmons lower the cost of the Digi-Evolution of Destrudomon or Galactic, reduce the memory cost by 1. So this can make it so that this 9 costs on top of Snatch will instantly become basically free in some circumstances, or just become a 4 cost or a 2 cost, which isn't bad. You have Snatchmon here. When Digivolving, you may place up to 2 Venmon from your trash to the bottom of this Digi-Evolution card. Then if this Digimon has 4 or more Venmon in its Digi-Evolution, return 1 Fusionize from your trash to your hand, constantly cycling pieces back. And then when you return a Venmon from your Digi-Evolution to the bottom of the deck, unsuspend this Digimon. This Digimon gains blocker until the end of opponent's turn. There's no added boost to Galacticmon, but hey, that's just fine. Then you have Justimon, basically when one of your opponent's Digimon attacks by returning 2 Venmon from one of your Galactic Digivolutions to the bottom of your deck, switch the target of the attack to this Digimon. So basically forcing them to attack you once per turn. Not bad. I mean, that's very powerful skills, you know, using Analog Man and Tai just to really apply and seal home. Galacticmon is probably a deck that needs more time and testing, but I feel like it's a very powerful deck at the end of the day. It does what it wants to do, and not many decks can just stop it. So next deck we're going to talk about is none other than Bagra Army. Bagra Army got some decent support. Is it going to really do anything? No, but it's a deck. It's a deck. It's a deck. So, I mean, first off, I got new Mad Leo armor mode, which takes Mad Leo and one of your Bagra armies in its traits, so it doesn't matter what you use, it's gonna use this. It has opponent's turn when an effect adds a card to your opponent's hand by trashing one of this Digievolution cards, draw 2, on deletion save. So, hey, it's got something, but also when this Digimon card is trashed by an effect, gain 1 memory. So everything has this gain 1 memory shenanigans going for it. So that's all Bagra Army's kind of good for, is that it's going to try to push your opponent's turn by if they do something. Well, not everything can do everything, but Toomon, though, helps out your U, can't be deleted, so this protects your U from any tamer deletions, which is very needed in this format, in my opinion. But also, on deletion, you may play 1 Daemon from your trash, suspended without paying its memory cost. Okay, but it also has Decoy, which isn't bad either. But all in all, the new cards like Bagra himself, on play when Digivolving. If you have your opponent has 1 or fewer Digimon in play, look at your opponent's hand and trash 1 card among them. If your opponent has 2 or more cards in play, place one of your opponent's Digimon under one of your opponent's other Digimon as a bottom Digievolution. So that pesky protection that they might have, hey, this is the introduction to what a Rusttyramon's future does. Well, this at least puts it underneath another Digimon. But if not, you just Thoughtseize them. And if you don't know what Thoughtseize is, it's a magic card for 1 cost, black, that basically looks at your opponent's hand, kills you for 2 life, but it can remove 1 card from your opponent's hand, really putting some oppressiveness on them. So, all turns, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon Digivolves, or when an effect adds a card to an opponent's Digievolution cards, by trashing 1 card in this Digievolution card, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So, if they, let's say, put X antibody underneath, well, congratulations! You get to free damage them and apply some damage. So, I think there's potential in this deck, but the problem is it's just too slow. It is relying so much on your your U Amano here that when a purple card is placed under this tamer, draw a card and gain 1 memory. But also when you would play a level 4 or higher Digimon with Bagra in its traits by placing up to 3 Digimon cards from under your tamer in play, Digievolution cards reduce the play cost of it by 2 for each card placed. So, basically making this 14. If you have at least a couple of them, you could bring this down to an acceptable play cost, but he is still quite expensive at the end of the day. But all in all, Bagra has some interesting dynamics that I wish maybe another deck gets in the future and can implement it properly. I think it has the right direction, because being able to be a reactive deck in a format where we don't have this functionality is really tough. And I think the biggest problem comes down to the fact is this is gain a memory and not your opponent loses a memory. If it got around Madoki betas and, you know, Chumons and stuff like that, I think it would have been a lot better in the long game. So next deck we're going to talk about is none other than Mastemon. There are multiple ways of playing Mastemon. This is the other more option heavy based. And what do I mean by that? So what you're going to do is basically trash your whole yard and try to get to have your Lucimons in trash. And then by using an option card like Dead or Alive, they hit this in security, play 1 purple level 5 card from your trash without paying its memory cost. If there are 10 or more cards in trash, you may play 1 Digimon card with Lucimon in its name without paying its memory cost. So Lucimon Chaos Mode gets to delete a tamer or a level 6 or lower Digimon. That's not terrible, especially if you, let's say you have Mastemon out and they're trying to swing into your security, Dead or Alive activates. Lucamon Chaos Mode comes in, tries to blow it up. Hey, that means if they didn't survive, if they have another level 5 or lower, you instantly get to kill it because of the all turns effect of Mastemon. There's so much potential, as I said, with this deck. It's not even funny. I mean, even using Neo Devi, because if your opponent's playing Tamers, especially against Crossheart and stuff like that, this card really punishes them for playing that, because now their Tamers, that 3-cost Tamer is a 6-cost Tamer, and they're not really wanting to pay that much. But, you know, Chaos Degration's one hell of a card, and it's always going to be. I mean, being able to remove a threat off the board and putting it into security against most other removals and everything like that is really good, because there's a lot of protections, but there's none that say if this card would move zones, like security under a Tamer or anything like that kind of protection yet, which I hope never comes into this game, because we do not need that kind of protection, because nitpicking aside, Chaos Degradation, at least Kongu negates it. So that's the way of thinking about it there. And all in all, the deck has potential. You're just going to be recovering a lot with the Lucamon and the Magna Anja. You know, Gadomon's going to search you pieces. You know, also Fall Down Mode's going to recover you stuff. It's got so much potential, and I think the way you get to play it, there's multiple avenues you can go about it. I mean, I picked this one because I've showed it off on the channel before, but I think showing this one off, and I also have the other version on the channel as well. So I think we're pretty solid here in covering our bases. Then we do have Minerva Loop. So same thing happens here. What you're going to do is Minervamon for its on deletion. If your opponent has 2 or less Digimon in play, you may play 1 purple level 5 or lower Digimon, or 1 Mervamon from your trash without paying its memory cost. So basically what you're going to do is go into Mervamon here, or you do the Cerberusmon loop as an option. So it's still a possibility there. But Mervamon is on play when Digivolving. You may play 1 purple level 4 or lower Digimon card, or 1 level 4 or lower Digimon with Crossheart and traits from your trash without paying its memory cost. If you Digi-Cross, add 1 of the number of cards you may play to this effect. So you get to play 2 with, you know, Retaliation, because that Retaliation now gives it Rush and Blocker. So you'll be able to play Blackwargreymon. So that's Retaliation, Rush. That's not a bad trade-off there. And then any of your lower ends, I think that's pretty solid. I think all in all, the deck has potential, and it's still the loop deck. So what you're going to do is using like Revival from Darkness. So delete 1 of your Digimon, then you may play 1 level 5 lower Digimon from your trash without paying its memory costs. Any on plays do not activate. So you'll set up, and let's say you grab Blue Mervamon from that effect. So what will happen is Minervamon will pop, with Revival of Darkness, go into play Blue Mervamon with that effect, go into Mervamon, then play 2 Dark Rizamon or Soulmons if you have that in the deck as well. But consistency is key. That's why Eismon Scatter Mode is in the deck. But you'll use it, spam it out. You get now 3 bodies that can attack. And now your opponent has to answer all 3. So it's a more deadlier loop, especially since we're in an OTK format. This might help out a little bit. I mean, they're not going to build wide enough for it to matter. So going wide isn't going to punish you as much. But the deck still struggles from, can I get to the loop faster than my opponent can OTK me? Biggest issue of the deck. At the end of the day, it still has a lot of potential. I mean, even just using Pendium Flame to pop your Digimon, and then you basically delete the level. Not a bad trade-off there. I think there's just a lot of instances this deck can do. But is it going to top many events? We'll have to see. And then finally, Crossheart itself. As you know, Crossheart did get that hit and restrictions, so now we're in ×3 land, where ×3 is basically your start a main turn, delete this Digimon, gain a memory, but on play, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 2 cards with Crossheart or Blue Flare and its traits among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order, and then cross for Shoutmon, Ballista, Darula. So it's a little bit cheaper to get into, but there's all potentials you can go about it. I mean, with the new Z Greymon, you get some added value with that. You know, Shoutmon ×7 has Rush on its own because it uses Omni Shout, Z, Ballista, Darula, Starmon, and Sparrow. So this card becomes a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2 costs with Rush on its base end. And again, it has at least a way of on play delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this DP. Not terrible. And then alternates for every 2 cards in this Digievolution card, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. This thing can be beefy real quick and just deal with threats on the board. Too bad it can't swing into anything, which is fine to an extent, but I wish it kind of could. But there's also Shoutmon DX here, that on play delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP 8000 or less. One of your opponent's Digimon cannot attack until the end of opponent's next turn. And then end of attack, delete this Digimon, gain a memory. It has material save too, just to instantly put that there. What is you really going to do with this? You're just going to Digivolve up at the end of the day. I don't see you really playing it for the Digicross because that only brings it to a 6 cost. And unless your opponent handed you 6 memory to deal with, or you have, 3 Zenjuros that you're willing to burn and you can't get into time 7, don't be burning 6 memory for this thing. It doesn't do enough to justify it. But I think all in all, the decks in this format are going to be very interesting, and I'm excited to see what can happen. So guys, hopefully you liked this video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and what deck are you guys going to play in? So let me know down in the comments, and guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one, and peace!